So I think it was actually, there was a lot of genius in sending it. We're trying to find out if people are working. And so we're sending a letter to people, please tell us what you did last week. If people don't respond, it's very possible that there is no such person or they're not working.
Elon Musk sends shockwaves throughout the federal government over the weekend from an email that was sent to every federal employee, asking them to list just 5 things that they accomplished last week. It sounds pretty simple, right? But the outrage on the left is typically as you would expect, more hatred towards Donald Trump and Elon Musk. As always, if you love or hate Trump, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. But we're going to start by looking at the social media post that started this drama amongst the Democrats and the left-wing media.
Elon is doing a great job, but I would like to see him get more aggressive. Remember, we have a country to save, but ultimately to make it greater than ever before. MAGA.
Then, after that went out, Elon Musk responded by saying, "Will do, Mr. President," and then posted this.
Saying, consistent with President Donald Trump's instructions, all federal employees will shortly receive an email requesting to understand what they got done this week. Failure to respond will be taken as a resignation. Of course, we're also hearing from our Fox team about this reporting. Jackie Heinrich shows the email saying, what did you do this week? Please reply to this email with approximately 5 bullets of what you accomplished last week. CC your manager. Please do not send any classified information, links, or attachments. The deadline Monday at midnight. The email, though, does not state that the failure to respond will be taken as a resignation, meaning workers would not know that unless they saw Elon's post.
This is what sent confusion, outrage, and hysteria all around Washington. It's really just a pulse check. They want to know they get some kind of response. You imagine if you got this email at your workplace, coming in the morning, it'd probably take you 5 minutes to answer. In most businesses, most hardworking people probably do about 500 things a day. This is purely just asking for a little bit of accountability as the government is conducting its audit. Now let's see how CNN is breaking down the story.
Well, all of this is just, again, really difficult for many of these employees to figure out who to listen to. One employee at the Department of Veterans Affairs telling me today, and I'm quoting, "No one knows who's in charge and who to listen to." Now, that "what did you do last week" email appeared to also reveal a rift between Trump-appointed agency heads and Elon Musk. Musk is unelected, not Senate confirmed, to run any government agency, and was essentially telling employees throughout the federal government to report outside the chain of command to him. Now, some 7 agencies, including the Department of Defense, the State Department, and the FBI, told employees not to comply with this request for information at the time that federal employees received it. But today, President Trump downplaying any rift between his cabinet secretaries and the power that Elon Musk is wielding in his capacity outside of the government to shrink the federal government's workforce, Wolf. But again, lots of questions, lots of confusion, despite OPM now saying that this is voluntary, and of course the labor union saying that none of this was legal to begin with.
Now, what she's talking about here is that there's 7 primary agencies out of the 400 and some that exist that are exempt from responding to this email, as these agencies, including the FBI, do have classified information that they might be working on that can't be sent out over an email. All of the heads of government understand this. The head of the FBI, Kash Patel, posted this. All FBI personnel may have received an email from OPM requesting information. The FBI, through the Office of the Director, is in charge of all of our review processes and will conduct reviews in accordance with the FBI procedures. But it's clear to see the narrative they're trying to push here is just a further attempt to create tensions to further divide the president and Elon Musk. This is Donald Trump's response yesterday.
You're talking about the last email that was sent where he wanted to know what you did this week. You know why he wanted that, by the way? I thought it was great. because we have people that don't show up to work and nobody even knows if they work for the government. So by asking the question, tell us what you did this week, what he's doing is saying, are you actually working? And then if you don't answer, like you're sort of semi-fired or you're fired, because a lot of people are not answering because they don't even exist. They're trying to, that's how badly various parts of our government were run by, and especially by this last group. So what they're doing is they're trying to find out who's working for the government. Are we paying other people that aren't working? And where is all this? Where's the money going?
Are you concerned at all about
Only
that?
no. That was done in a friendly manner. Only things such as perhaps Marco at State Department, where they have very confidential things, or the FBI, where they're working on confidential things. And they don't mean that in any way combatively with Elon. They're just saying there are some people that you don't want to really have them tell you what they're working on last week.
So they're really just trying to find out if there's anybody that's being paid a salary by the US taxpayer that shouldn't be. We know there are people out there that are not showing up to their office every day. So they need to find out who these people are. Now, we've seen an example of how the news media are handling this. Now let's hear from some political figures. Let's watch former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
I want to start with what Elon Musk did on Saturday, which is order all federal employees to list their accomplishments or basically be fired. Can he do that?
No, he can't. Let's look at it a few ways, Martha. First, from a legal perspective, you have a situation where it is a complete overstep for him to be asking people, what did you do in the last week? And then use that as a basis to evaluate whether someone should be retained or fired. As with everybody's employment, things vary from week to week. And I think that if that went to court with an employee who was fired, if Mr. Musk and his minions didn't find what they did in the last week acceptable, there would be very little, if any, legal basis for them to be able to prevail, meaning the government. But secondly, as a former governor, too, from a management perspective, you can see what a clown car this is right now. Because you've got, for instance, FBI Director Kash Patel appropriately emailing his people in response saying, don't answer it. Don't answer the questionnaire. Any review process will be done internally by the FBI. Same thing from the National Security Agency. Same thing from the acting U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia. So, you have people, doing this, pointing in each direction. You do this, you do that. It shows that, again, this type of idea of Musk coming in there with the chainsaw that he was famously brandishing at a political event in Washington, D.C. this week. It's a lot more complicated than that. Running government's a lot more complicated than that. And hopefully they get their act together at some point.
Okay, so let's just do a rundown of what the left is saying about all this. Number one, Elon Musk is an unelected billionaire who is the actual president, and President Trump is the one who's actually working for him. Secondly, a billionaire who is also the owner of SpaceX doesn't have legitimate access and should not access our personal data, whether that's the IRS or the Treasury payment system. And thirdly, Elon Musk is creating chaos inside MAGA and inside the Trump administration because of this post on X. And he's trying to stretch his power muscles. This is just what the left are going to run with. So be prepared for more of this, because the fact still remains, we're 1 month into this administration, and Elon Musk deserves the patience and the time to prove that his method to this madness, as they're calling it, if you want to call it madness, is absolutely worth it for all American people. And I believe Congressman Mullen here also believes that.
Well, I would tell you that the majority of the American people want to make sure that their taxpayers are being used correctly. I don't want anybody to lose their job. That's the last thing we want. But at the same time, anytime you're trying to secure this country, which a national security risk we have right now is our national debt, we have to make changes, and we have to make it quickly. Unfortunately, when we have bureaucrats and politicians that have wastefully spent the American taxpayer dollars, and we don't have to look any further than USAID to see the wasteful billions of dollars that were spent, cuts had to take place. And every business owner understands this. Every business owner understands that you have to get your house in order before you can advance. That's exactly what Doge is doing. Think about this. Every successful business owner out there and every successful business has hired consultants to come in and take an unbiased look and make changes, because sometimes when you're so close to it, you can't see what the real changes need to take place. Elon Musk is the United States consultant right now. He is literally the best entrepreneur we've had in our lifetime, and he's doing it for free. And he's taking an unbiased look, saying these programs make no sense. Let's save the taxpayer dollars and get our house in order.
You know, one of the things that I'm beginning to realize is that what people really need to answer for themselves is, how committed are they to cutting out fraud, waste, and abuse from the federal government? How serious are they when it comes to paying down the deficit? Because if you can't do that with the small things, you're not going to be able to accomplish that with the big things. And some of the small things include federal workers waking up one day and having to find a new job. Now, is that pain and hearing those emotional stories enough for you to say, you know what, I'm actually not committed to cutting down the federal waste? Because let's be honest here, they've been saying they wanted to do this for so long. And now that Elon Musk is actually doing something, they don't want to do it this way. Now, if we don't do it this way, I don't think they're ever going to do it. So that's just something to think about. But let me know what your answer is in the comment section below, and hit that like button if you agree. The next clip on our show is a response from two federal workers, one that doesn't agree and the other one gets it.
The work shows what we're doing, and our supervisors hold us accountable to that standard that's in our position description, and this email is disrespectful and unwarranted. The undermining goal is, one, to demoralize us, to make us feel in a defensive position as if we're saying, you know, we didn't do anything that serves the American people.
I worked on the audit and I wrote up the final report, and that's a lot to spend 4 days on.
But she also believes that the federal government does need to cut out some bloat.
If we're going to tackle the inflation and the deficit, we've got to cut. And I'm sorry people are going to get hurt, but everybody's suffering from inflation. So I feel bad for the government employees, but they're a small group versus the whole country.
And
I think that's exactly the point. People might disagree on the strategy, but ultimately the goal is one that everyone should be able to get behind. Every move that Doge makes, no matter how small or how big, will have a positive result on the overall outcome, which is to reduce spending, reduce the deficit, to line the country up in a position where we can actually start to pay down the national debt. Now, since I've been putting this video together, the story is moving along so quickly. Caroline Levitt has just updated us on where we are in the response to this. Let's see what she has to say.
First of all, let's just take a step back and talk about this idea. The president sent out a truth last weekend to Elon Musk saying he loves everything Elon is doing and he wants him to be even more aggressive, because Doge thus far has proven incredibly successful in making our government more efficient. And so Elon and Doge came up with this idea. Elon has implemented this at his private companies. It has proven successful. And it's a very simple idea when you think about it. All the Office of Personnel Management is asking, all this administration is asking, President Trump is asking, is for federal workers who live off of the American taxpayer's dime to send 5 bullet points of what they have done in the previous week. That is all we are asking for. And so the Office of Personnel and Management sent out additional guidance last night. Those responses should be directed to agency leadership, and the president defers to his cabinet secretaries, who he's obviously entrusted to pursue the guidance relative to their specific workforce. And for some of the agencies that you've seen who have said, please don't send these emails, it's in their best interest for that specific agency, and the president supports that. And let me be very clear, the president and Elon, his entire cabinet, are working as one unified team. And they are implementing these very common sense solutions. Again, this was an idea that Elon come up with. Doge worked with OPM to actually implement the idea, and the secretaries are responsible for their specific workforce. And this is true of the hirings and the firings that have taken place. And we advise federal workers, unless your agency has dictated you not to respond to this email. In fact, I can announce that we've had more than 1 million workers who have chosen to participate in this very simple task of, again, sending 5 bullet points to your direct supervisor or manager, CCing OPM. I actually participated in myself. It took me about a minute and a half to think of 5 things I did last week. I do 5 things in about 10 minutes, and all federal workers should be working at the same pace that President Trump is working and moving. We have a country to save, and we want this federal government to be responsive to the needs of the American people who re-elected this president to have historic, massive reform, and that's what the intention of this idea is.
We are going to continue to follow this story as it progresses, so please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.